What grossed you out so much in a relationship that you just left? I showered at his place after staying over and I asked for a towel. He gave me one which had literal skin flakes on. I asked for a clean one. He asked what I meant. He did not realize that you need to wash towels because they just have water on them so they clean themselves. I went away with my ex and saw his toothbrush for the first time. It had black mold growing on it and the bristles were so flat the toothbrush had a middle parting. I had a conversation with him about hygiene and told him to get a new toothbrush, but when I stayed at his house 2 weeks later the cursed toothbrush was still there, so I ended it. This thread makes me feel like a rock star for brushing my teeth and taking out the trash. Lamau. Edit. Maybe I am a rock star? The obsession with social media. It was uncomfortable until I couldn't stand it anymore. Way too different views on life and priorities. I was dating a girl when I was younger. She seemed nice and she had 2 small cats. One weekend I went to visit her and the cats weren't there. I asked her where they were. She told me they had gotten annoying and so she put them in the car and drove to an abandoned bush area and left them. I faked an emergency at home. We lived about a 2-hour drive apart, left and broke up with her when I got home. Her breath was so bad I couldn't make out with her. All I could think of was don't vomit, don't vomit. Edit. First date led to make-out session, but alcohol was involved and either masked the smell or my horniness plus liquid courage just made me not give it a second thought. Second date we ate some super spicy curries and that either dulled my senses enough or again, my horniness, and lots of kissing breaks, got me through it and we made it to third base. My horniness prevailed. Third date, both of us just went right to my place for sex and her breath just really was unbearable. She went down on me and I couldn't perform because I was so devastated from her breath that I was just trying to not vomit. She wouldn't let me go down on her, which looking back on things probably was a good thing. Dr. Her bad breath made me nauseous and impotent. My horniness could not overcome it and that was the last we hung out. When she was so insistent about not using a condom during sex and when we were just going about our daily lives she would constantly talk about how much she's always wanted kids all for herself. We were 18 at the time. I left her in the dust so quick. Dated a guy who said even the smell of mint would make him gag. Mint anything, ice cream, gum, toothpaste. So yeah, he didn't brush his teeth. Wouldn't hear a bar of it when I said there were non-mint toothpastes on the market. I realized after over 6 months together that he was just generally unhygienic and had a specific hang-up about brushing his teeth. He told me he had memories of his mother holding him down to forcefully brush his teeth as a child because he hates mint so much. But I have to wonder if it was always about the mint, or actually the fact that the taste of mint was the most tangible part of the childhood trauma. My ex would threaten suicide anytime things got tough in our relationship. Grossed me out enough that I just called it a day eventually. Cue the desperate calls hours later from the apparent overdose. She's still alive and kicking somewhere though. Took an old GF to a Super Bowl party with my family. We leave, she asks me if I've ever messed around with my niece. Ghosted her quickly. He convinced me to stay on Skype while I was sleeping. And he'd literally talk to me if I moved an inch thinking I was waking up. What finally got me to stop was when I caught him saying to me in my sleepy days was that if he was next to me he'd stick his D in me, while I'm sleeping, and put much emphasis into doing so without my consent because you can't say no, and ride me all night long. I finally got the courage to ghost him after hearing that. When they sent me videos of them cutting themselves cause I accidentally fell asleep for 2 hours and they were convinced I just stopped liking them and they wanted to kill themselves. Cause I took a nap. Fuck no from me man. She was almost perfect for the first year that we dated. To the point to where I considered marriage with her. Our leases were up around the same time so we decided to move in together. Not even a month into us living together she turned into a completely different person. She started instigating fights over very small things, blowing things out of proportion, accusing me of cheating when I'd have to work late. She'd pack her things to leave but would never actually leave, just like the fight of me trying to talk her down. One day we were at a movie store in the mall together and I was looking at the back of a movie at the description. She accused me of ogling over the actress that was on the movie case. Stormed out of the movie store, left the mall, left me there with no ride home and didn't answer her phone. I got the fuck out of there as soon as I could. After I left she'd text me paragraphs of apologies begging me to take her back or she'd kill herself. Sent me pictures of her cutting herself. I had to have her number blocked. She then started stalking me at work and coming to my friend's house that I was staying at. Ended up getting a restraining order against her, crying if I didn't have sex with him. Needing to be touching me constantly and eventually threatening to kill himself when I tried to break up with him. The guy texted and called for about 5 years afterwards. We dated for like 2 months. Didn't leave immediately when I was told this, but fairly soon after. She told me that she never cleaned up cat barf. She'd simply wait and let the dog eat it. Once the dog got too old/deaf/blind, she would leave the dog to the cat barf. Big nope for me. He was on trial for manslaughter and I didn't know until he was found guilty. He kept trying to call me from jail. Asked me had I ever attempted to seduce my stepdad, who had been in my life since I was 8. I was 18 at the time. I just looked at him in bafflement and horror before asking him had he ever attempted to fuck his adopted sister? He responded with disgust and yet still couldn't see that he had asked me something horrific. Same dude also said he didn't think anyone was really bisexual, they're just cowards who won't properly come out. When I asked him had he forgotten that I'm a bisexual woman, he smiled and said nah, I'll fuck you straight. All this said within a month of us getting together. He's an ex for a reason. She was so rude to my friends. We went out to dinner with them and she constantly made fun of one's height, something he's clearly been insecure about. I told her to chill and then she said my hairline is far back but no one notices because I'm tall. I broke up with her the next morning. I felt so bad for my friends but they're still in my life thankfully.